From in the beginning to the musical apocalypse, this is The Bible Says What. I'm your host, Mike Wiseman. You're enjoying this day because the Almighty has granted you the gift to press onward and move through it. Remember, you would be stranded without the guidance of our all-knowing green-light God. To move through this world without him is an impossibility. Let's start the show.
Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I
Couldn't
didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is Christian author, minister, public speaker, and life coach Jon Mcleod. Welcome to the show, Jon.
What's going on, Michael? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit about what you do?
So I have been a public speaker for a long time, probably over 10 years now, and been speaking all over the country, been blessed to speak in to 47 countries at one time, multiple Fortune 100, 200, and 500 companies about mental health and different aspects of that. And now I help other people speak about their brand and articulate their message. One of the most things I'm proud of is that I've been a believer in God my whole life, even though I haven't been perfect. And if you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find it here. So that's one big thing. And besides that, I try to help a lot of people on how to navigate life in the most logical, impactful, and most importantly, purposeful way.
How do you help them navigate through life? How do you do that?
So there's several aspects. First is it's the analyzing of where they are now. A lot of people focus on, hey, I want to be here, so what do I need to do to be here? And it's not so much about what you want as where you are and who you currently are. And then I place heavy emphasis was yes, the past is a reference, but we can't use it as a justification for decisions in the future. And so by analyzing where a person is, you can then, all right, now let's figure out what's the first step. We know the ultimate goal, but what's the first thing that's most important and specific to you as a person and not some cool stuff you heard on YouTube? What makes the most sense for you mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, all of those things? What makes the most sense currently? And how can we apply something and create a structure plan that's not so invasive or daunting, but something to build the groundwork and steps to get you to where you actually want to go? And in most cases, what I learned is they don't end up really wanting the thing that they said they wanted in the end. It was something else that had nothing to do with it, and most of it was money to do X. I want to take my family, my wife, my mother, my father, my here because of reference the past. And because I was able to believe I can be able to do this, it'll give me time. Time is the number one thing that every single person on the planet wants.
Yeah.
And they believe wholeheartedly, and I'm not saying that it's wrong, that money is the thing to get them in. It is, yes, you can use it to do that.
Yeah.
But you could also reshape how you view it now and what you believe is important. And that's difficult for a lot of people to wrap their heads around. So I helped them do that.
Awesome. What is the most important thing you're finding to people?
When you say finding it to people, tell me what you mean.
When you're helping them navigate through life, what do you find is their most important thing besides the time there?
They want, yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, they want It's like a mix of time and experience.
Hmm.
They're looking for experiences. And my
Yeah.
question always to them is a variation of what's stopping you from doing that now? If you had the money, what's stopping you from doing it now? And they
Hmm.
always say, like, they start off saying, well, it is the money. I'm like, okay, say you got the money tomorrow. Where are you booking? Where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, I don't know. I said, so the money isn't the only problem. It's your lack of structure for the goal that you want to achieve. So if money is the problem, money should be the only thing that you're waiting on. But when they are pushed with the question of, all right, you have the money, now what?
Right.
Well, now I have to figure out, well, here's where do I actually want to go? What do I actually want to do? Who do I actually want to be with? How do I manage the time that I have with them to create the experience that I'm envisioning and have been envisioning all this time? And it eventually always evolves
Hmm.
because once they get to or get close to it, they realize that the most important thing was the experience and the time, and it wasn't the energy spent to get all of those resources and things to do the thing. Excuse me. And so a lot of times it's helping them walk through that understanding, come to terms with it, and you'd be surprised. Some people don't, and they can't wrap their head around the concept of okay, I can't do it without money. I know that, so I need to focus on the money. And they can't. Some people can't wrap their heads around. Well, maybe you can configure what you have now to get that experience, but you're just not looking at it that way because you feel like what you have isn't enough and won't ever be enough. If that
It's
makes
more like a
sense.
purpose. Is it
Yeah.
a perp? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Purpose driven.
That's what I'm looking for there. Yeah. Purpose driven. Awesome. So their purpose on this thing is time, experience, um, loved ones, That's interesting to me. So where does God fit into that whole purpose? If we're looking for time and experience and loved ones and more structure in our life here, um, where does the God part fit into that? If you're helping them out,
Mhm.
guiding them to these things, um, are most of them Christians? Sorry, multiple questions here.
No, no, they're all over,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha.
and I'm not the type to force anything on them. But you will get if I give you if you're gonna ask me my thoughts, you're gonna get my thoughts. And so in that same vein, I give it to them. If you're asking about my process and how I include God, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, we can go there.
Okay. Yeah. So first I pray and have a conversation
Hmm,
because in my experience, I've done this thing several ways without him and seen the results. And then I've seen it done with him and seen results. So I've
hmm,
tested and experimented with both. Like I told you, I wasn't always perfect. And I will never claim to be. And what I learned is the ancient book allows you to see the perspective of people that had handled or had similar situations and how they handled it.
hmm,
And I realized looking at different characters that their choice of intention when they spoke to God determined the outcome. Not just the choice and the intention, but
hmm,
also this notion of surrender.
hmm.
And it's interesting because when I have conversations with people about what they do, I don't bring up God immediately. And sometimes I don't bring them up at all.
Hmm.
What I do is I ask a series of questions, and before I even have a conversation with them, I have a conversation with God that's something along the lines of, God, I have no clue the real depth of where this person is. Help me to help them where they are, or help me to understand what is best for them for the future that is greatest for them.
Hmm.
And in
Hmm.
that, I stop, stay calm, I lock in, I ask questions, I listen,
Hmm.
and I say, God, I'm going to guide me down this path that I'm about to go on, and help me help them. I don't want any of my ideologies or opinions, me personally, what's best. And so I ask questions and then logically piece things together. And so what God does
Hmm.
is he gives me center, a level
Hmm.
of clarity and peace, and then allows me to tap into a situation through questions and them answering that allows to get to not just the right answer, but their answer, if that makes sense.
Kind of, kind of. But I'm curious where the God part still fits in, because that sounds like that's you. Yes, you do pray to God and ask for the guidance there, but I'm curious how we get from you asking God to help out to God actually helping out. Um, do you? How do you think your thoughts work? Curious about that. Do you have your own thoughts, or do they come from God, or does God like manipulate your thoughts so you can think the or ask the right questions, or how does that work for you?
So I have my own thoughts.
Okay.
I also the caveat with that is
Hmm.
I have my own thoughts and can make my own choices, but
Okay.
I'm also hypersensitive to very, how we say, very interesting and unusual things. Like for example,
Hmm.
a question that I might not have asked or didn't think to ask. I was like, I probably won't ask that question because maybe it doesn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
That person will then introduce the idea that I was about to reject. Now, that had nothing to do with me, but I believe that it was God pushing that. Hey, hey, actually ask that. They see,
Hmm.
they brought it up. Ask it now. Versus my thoughts would have been, all right, let me back up. I don't think they should. I don't think they would do that. And I assume, and I actually sometimes go in a different direction. And in a divine way,
Hmm.
it happened. And to give you an example, it happened around 4 clients ago.
Hmm.
I purposefully avoided a question that was like pinging in my head. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I did it 3 times.
Hmm.
And I said, I don't think we should get into that. I don't want to trigger this person. I don't know where they are. And I avoided it and avoided it and avoided it.
Hmm.
And it didn't come out of my mouth. It came out of his.
Hmm.
And he goes and says the thing that, I was avoiding. And I
Hmm.
admitted to him. I said, I was avoiding that. And he was like, I was too. And I said, wait, why were you avoiding it? He said, I
Hmm.
was struggling with a few things and I just could not get rid of it.
Hmm.
I said, so you feel that the only way to get it out was to do it that specific way. And I didn't tell him this, but in my head, I said, okay, God, you wanted him to do that because I was actively going in another direction. I was
Interesting.
trying and pushing to go in another direction, and I had nothing to do with me and everything to do with.
The flow of
I
the
literally had no
conversation.
hand. Yeah, I literally, if my hands were on, well, when my hands were on it, I avoided and didn't go with it.
Hmm.
The thing that I didn't control went to the thing that I was avoiding.
Interesting. I'm going to use an example for this conversation. As a matter of fact, I have a note, and one of my notes is it's a question, and my question is there purpose in pain? Now, I don't want to ask that question. I don't want to. I don't want to go down that road. I don't. It just upsets me when we talk about suffering and stuff like that. So I'm going to avoid that question. But now, if you had brought it up, I had seen that in one of your profiles, something about a purpose in pain. So I would have gone with that. So would you consider that God, or would you just consider that the flow of the conversation, a natural thing that happens?
I can say I consider it God first and the flow of conversation second.
But
Only
why God
because
first? Yeah.
because if you look at how he touches life,
Mm.
there is this natural flow
Hmm.
of how things work, and specifically around the things we don't control.
Okay.
That is where I honestly see him the most. And so
Huh.
naturally, if we your desire was one thing
Hmm.
and you made a choice, I was, well, I'm speaking of for my client, he was avoiding, but then it kept coming up no matter how much I actively avoid it.
Hmm.
Now, you still have a choice if you want to still go down that road or not, whether I bring it up or not. But I do think it's divine in nature that even though I didn't know about your note, that we still naturally went there because conversations can literally go anywhere.
Yeah, especially these kinds.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so, like, for it to choose and go specifically, I do believe that it has to be uh, a God type of conversation, God included type of conversation, even if we don't acknowledge it.
Hmm. So natural flow equals God. I'm going to tie this into your trying it till it works thing, majigger there. The green light God. I have a green light God, by the way.
Okay.
My green car sacrificed itself for my family. We all are fine. The car did not make it, and now every time we have a green light, that's our car giving us the green light to go. Green light God says go. So whenever you get a green light, that's my God letting you go through. Or if you get a red light, it's my God stopping you from getting a traffic ticket or a traffic accident or teaching you patience. So stuff like that. So to me, sitting at the red light and thinking green thoughts is just about the same thing as trying it until it works, praying until you see some kind of results, or the natural flow of things equals the green light God, because it's the natural flow of the light. It's going to happen. It's going to turn. It's going to eventually. You're going to get a green light, unless the light's broken, of course. Then that's a whole nother situation.
There we go.
But that's kind of what I'm comparing it to. It's just the natural flow of things, the natural flow of the conversation, the natural flow of the green light, the natural flow of life. But it doesn't necessarily, to me, I mean, yes, it's fun to pretend about the green light God, but it's not real. It's a nice comparison to the Christian religion because it's the same thing to me. It's just try until it works, wait until it works, or find a reason for why these things are happening. And it's not just because it's a reason that sounds fun doesn't mean it's real. So
Mm.
I'm curious how we get from the natural flow of thing equals God, or how we get from the natural flow to God all of a sudden there. Do you have any, I don't want to say evidence, but do you have anything you can articulate that would help me understand that it is God other than that? Because to me, again, natural flow just equals natural flow. I don't see the
Mm.
God part in there. Does that make
I
any
guess
sense? Sorry, my head is
it,
still brain fog from all this sickness.
no, don't even worry about it. I guess in order to answer your question, I need you to help me with clarity.
Sure.
I am choosing to include God in this.
Mm.
Help me understand the disconnect um, that you have.
Well, why would you choose to include God? Let's go with that one.
Okay.
Go down that path a little bit here. Why would you choose to include God?
Because of my experience with him over and over again. I have, in my life personally,
Hmm.
too many times I know things should have gone a different way.
Hmm.
Right. And they didn't.
Okay.
Times I should have died and they didn't. Times
Interesting.
I prayed immediately and saw change immediately. There, I can't say it's coincidence
Hmm.
because parties and things that I didn't control came and confirmed the things that I did. And specifically, uh, it's just, I'm not going to get too deep into history details of mine, but I'll say there's times where I almost got, shot and killed.
What's the difference
And
there between that and me getting a green light and making it on time to work because the green light has allowed me to go there and associating that with the green light God? What's the
well, the
difference there?
diff well the green light is a system that was created by a person that runs on this one function. It could only
Mm,
give you a green light or a red light or a yellow light.
mm,
Can it give you an orange light?
no.
It
Can
can't.
God give you an orange light? That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. And so there are the systems that we see and understand that was created by a
Mm,
person, and then there are the systems that exist within the system, like for example, the human body,
mm,
the universe,
mm.
uh, and that we have some explanation, but ultimately come to the conclusion that it couldn't just been human interaction. So the difference between the
Hmm.
two is
That's
we
hmm.
can lock in on human interaction and understanding, but there's things that go beyond it, but yet exist and function.
That's the same way I see religion is just a system created by man. And then we've just used this system created by man to explain the things around us or get through life, essentially, or get through traffic lights.
You
So it's
know,
just a system created by man. I'm not seeing the God part still, though.
so see, and I get that, and I don't disagree. Uh, if you're talking about traditional religion, but what I
Hmm.
believe in is relationship with God,
Oh,
because systems often don't evolve past a certain person's understanding.
what do you
Systems
mean?
are systems. For example, systems are systems. The red light will be a red light
Hmm.
until the red light dies. The traffic light will have red if it's the traffic light that we've seen,
Hmm.
red, yellow, green. That's the system that it was created to do in
Uh-huh.
order to do something.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't speak, it doesn't transform, it doesn't procreate, grow. It is what it is.
Hmm.
Because the system is designed to say you are designed to direct traffic in this way, shape, or form. When you think about traditional, when people get really traditional about like, oh, you're only supposed to do this, read. I look at what did Jesus do?
Hmm.
What did he
Hmm.
say? How did he treat people?
Oof.
How was he treated? And now, if you go into the Bible and you go look at the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they speak about a system,
Hmm. A
and they were
system
upset
set up by God.
that they believe that there was set up by God.
Who set up the
They
Jewish system?
no, they did. I'm not saying they did.
God set up the Jewish system, though.
Yes, you're
Okay.
saying that he received somebody, a human received it and from God.
Yeah. So
Yes,
God set it, yeah, all scripture is God breathed, useful for preaching, teaching, correcting, training in righteousness. So God
yes.
set up that system that the Pharisees are throwing back at Jesus.
Hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Or allowed them to set it up. But now, when the evolution came, which was Jesus, how were they? How did they receive that change?
Well, they didn't trust the change because the guy,
Mm.
Jesus person, wasn't what they expected whatsoever, that the God had told them
Oh,
what was going to happen.
they didn't. He wasn't what they envisioned.
They were told one thing and then they got Jesus. So, I mean, yeah, they were upset.
But can I ask?
Hmm,
Even though they were told that thing,
my
and
God.
yep, it showed up
Yeah.
in between the two.
Mhm.
Do you believe that there were things that altered it,
Altered
that made like so,
what?
that altered the course of direction?
Like God changed his mind type thing?
not necessarily changed his mind because he he already knew what would happen. He already knew where it would go.
Okay.
But do you believe that we can mess things up and God can fix them?
No, I don't. Oh, I don't believe in God.
Oh, right. But like,
I mean,
can
if
we make
God, your
mistakes?
God
Yeah.
exists, yes. If your God exists, he's the all powerful God. He can do anything he wants. So yes, he can do that. I would assume. But what would be the purpose?
I guess my point is that the change had to come because
Hmm.
the Bible explains the history of mistakes that we made.
We made. What
Yes.
mistake did we make?
Killing, destruction, all those type of things. We did have
God is the
free
one that
will.
ordered those things to happen, though. And God does do a lot of the killing and destruction himself as well. So I'm confused. Which killing and destruction did God not sanction that he's mad about?
War, he allowed. Yes.
We ordered it, he required it. Do you remember the Amalekites?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, terrible stuff, man. God wanted all the kids, all the donkeys, all the women gone, destroyed. I don't think that's a good idea, John.
I don't. While it is sound very bad
Yeah.
to begin, I am not going to say that from our mind. Yes, that looks horrible.
What other mind can I use, John? I can only use my mind.
True, true.
And
Well, I
my
guess
mind
my point
goes,
is,
oof.
eh, I guess if we're at war or things like that, or
Hmm.
there's different types of things, and there are casualties
But why
for,
would God want war?
I don't know. I cannot speak for him.
That's weird to me. Do you remember the Canaanites?
Yes.
Why did God allow, after the flood, the Canaanites to go back to or fill up the land of Canaan if he's only going to go back through and destroy them anyways to take it back? All these different things, all these bloody wars he wanted. He wanted. I'm not even going to get there, but it doesn't make any sense to me why God would blame us for murdering in wars when he's the one actually causing and ordering these wars and murder.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He
Hmm.
didn't. Was there a cause and effect to that?
To what?
Did, uh, trying to
The
remember
Amalekites?
yeah. What did they do
Good
that
question.
caused God to say that?
I love that you ask that. Exodus 17, 8 through 14 tells us the reason for the hatred of the Amalekites. The Amalekites attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. And
Hmm.
Moses said to Joshua, choose some of her men and go to the fight to the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. Do you remember this story? To me,
Oh, when he held him up? Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
I think
yes.
this is the most ridiculous story. It only gets worse too. It's like so Joshua fought the Amalekites and Moses and Aaron and Hur and blah blah blah. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, they started losing. So as soon as Moses started lowering his hands, God's like, "Oh, you're dying now. You're dying. I'm taking away my protection from you." And then Moses puts his hands up. He's like, "Oh, more protection." It's such a weird thing for me to think about. Well, I don't understand why God would do such a disgusting, pointless thing there. But the worst part at the end of it, I think, is verse
Mhm.
14. And it says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it." So he says, "Write this down so that it's something to be remembered. Because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under the heavens." Why would you write it down if you're trying to blot out his name? It doesn't make any sense to me. But that was the first instance where they interacted, and I think it was Judges after that. Um, Judges mentions that they kept coming in and destroying their lands after that, and
So
then at the end of it, Samuel,
so
First
now
Samuel.
I guess my question is so is it bless you. Is it uh is your issue with
Hmm.
God or my use of him
Hmm.
what you read in the Old Testament?
No, the whole Bible, from the beginning to the musical apocalypse, I find issues with the character of God. We can like, dude, no, he does bad things throughout, like really horrible, disgusting things that I can't justify or find justifications for. And this is just one of the many things in the Old Testament. We can go to the New Testament. I mean, do you believe about the end of days type thing? You know, is that part of your belief system, the revelation?
I do. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen
pretty
some things
gross, man.
happen. It
God's going to
is.
drown fish in blood. God's going to squish people with hail. Children. I don't understand. Burn them with the sun. He's going to allow the sun to burn people. Because, I don't know. To me,
But
that
if he
sounds like the
burn,
sun's just sitting up there waiting to burn people. And God's like, no, not yet. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
mean, no. I believe like there's a difference in perspective. It sounds like you've
Hmm.
chosen yours, and I get it. And
Hmm.
I understand. I guess I'm also. Have you had any experience with him?
I have not experienced your particular God whatsoever. I don't understand what that means. How do I experience your God?
So this is very interesting.
This is fun. Thank you
So,
again.
no. Um, so
Hmm.
you have an issue with who who God is, who you believe God is, and
I have an
based on
issue
the
with the
Bible,
character in this book. Yes, the character in this book I think is a complete jerk.
and
Yeah.
it excuses what. So let me ask you, what are your opinion about the people in that book?
What like which people?
So for example, like, let's go Jesus.
Okay. What about him? If he was real,
Like,
he was a weirdo. If he was
why
real.
so?
Well, he's claiming to do miracles, number one. That's weird. He claims to be this, well, he doesn't actually claim to be the son of God, but he casts out demons into pigs. He curses a fig tree. He's going to come back and throw everybody into hell after the end of the world with his angel armies because his daddy's upset. I don't see Jesus as a good person either.
Mm.
I see him as
So
as,
how
as
would
kind of a pointless figure. Why do you think Jesus was needed?
well based on scripture and history,
Hmm.
kind of changed the viewpoint of people.
Why do you think that?
Well,
Were there no other gurus around?
no, not necessarily. There were,
Oh, hmm,
but why? But you
hmm.
got to ask yourself, why would his name be the one that we remember
There's lots of
so
names that
so
people
much?
remember.
Yeah, but when
There's
you
lots of
think about,
gods and demigods out there.
yeah,
I remember Zeus and I remember Hercules. You know, that doesn't mean he's real.
yeah, but you gotta look at it this way though. Like, think about infiltration, if you would call it, of the name in the
Hmm.
midst of all of those things. Okay,
Help me understand.
for example, my experience is when I've had a relationship with God, I've
Hmm.
had good times and bad times. But outside of when I was outside of Him, I've had way more, very few great times. Now, me
Mm.
personally,
See, when I think green thoughts, I get more green lights. And when I didn't think as much green thoughts, I didn't get as many green lights.
maybe, but in my case,
But in my
my
case,
experience,
in my
you asked me
experience,
about, yeah, yeah. So
it's
now,
the
but
same thing, man.
what do you mean?
It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. And when I think more green thoughts, I get more green lights. But before I did that, I didn't get as many green lights. It's the same concept. It's just it's waiting till something happens, essentially. Just throwing shit out there and seeing what sticks, you know?
But I don't have that experience, and there's so many people that I've had a conversation with, some that were atheists
Hmm.
that say the same thing that I'm saying or their version of it. What do you say to that and to those people
I don't think
that
they're
have
atheists then if they're saying that God is helping them.
no, yeah, they were. And then they had an experience.
How did they know it was
And
their God? That's the difficult part for me is how do you know that this invisible man is interacting with you? How do you know it's him specifically?
It's the same choice we make for the same concept that you said. If I think green thoughts, you're making a conscious
So you're
effort to
just
believe
pretending to
that.
believe it at that point. That's what I'm doing. I'm
If that's the,
pretending to believe that the green thoughts are giving me green lights. That's all I'm doing.
if you want to put it that way, fine. I say it's like
Hmm.
because we can't argue with experience.
You
Can you
can't,
refute some?
but
Can you refute
you can't
somebody's
accept it.
experience?
No, but I can't trust it either.
Okay, I can't. You have a choice to whether to trust or to not.
You trust
But
everybody's experiences?
no, not everyone. But
Well, there's
I'm
lots of
saying,
people that interact with their God as
yeah.
well, that get answers from their God. Their God helps them out. Kali Ma is one of the gods I refer to all the time. She helps people out. She gets prayed to, and their lives get better. So does that mean that Kali Ma is real?
I, again, we're talking about belief.
So we're just going to
I don't.
believe
Let's
that
go
it's
ahead.
real, even though there's no evidence to show that that particular God is doing anything.
And what evidence would that be for you, Michael? That would prove it.
Well, I don't know, but it's going to take a lot more than just the light turning green or something, my joy in my life. It's going to take a lot more than just that to make me
So,
understand that there's an invisible man interacting with me.
so help me understand. Like, what would it take?
I
Because then,
don't.
I, you
I
don't.
don't know. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
honestly. I have
okay,
no idea what it
okay,
would take.
okay.
Maybe I heard. Was it the other day? Somebody said that maybe if God can change me back to how I used to be at 21, change me back to 21. There you go. Then I might believe. I might be a believer at that point. But I'm going to need something pretty drastic here to believe that there's an invisible man out there doing things.
But even what you said just now, even though you, if he did that, you said you might.
Yeah, that's not 100%. I can't give you a guarantee on what I would believe to be
But
hip from him.
and
Yeah.
I think that's my point. Like you've
Hmm.
already made a choice not to believe. So
No, no, no.
there's
He
nothing
has
that
the choice. John, he has the choice. He knows what it would take, right? Does God know what it would
Mhm.
take to convince me?
Yeah, but he also gave you free will, so and you're choosing.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that you're choosing,
I don't believe that your Bible says that you have free will.
but you experiences show that people made choices, and whether they were good or bad, they made the choice. So you're saying, are you
You
saying that
say
you believe God puppets us? Is what you're saying?
he does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the people of earth. Daniel 4:35. We are regarded as nothing.
So you're saying that that's what you're projecting that you're saying that that's the Bible that I believe is what I'm gathering.
That's what the Bible says. And then I can go to several places in the Bible where God intervenes and forces people to do things. Do you remember the time that he sent the evil spirit forcefully upon Saul so that Saul would throw spears at David?
I do.
Yeah, I don't see that as an example of free will. Tower of Babel. All they're doing is building a tower. Do you really think they were going to make it all the way to heaven with sticks and clay? I don't think so.
We don't. Well, we don't know. Oh, we don't think so now.
Yeah,
But we
I
also
highly
don't.
doubt it.
But I guess my point is there is no way. There's nothing for you to believe because you've already made a choice.
I did make a choice, and what made that choice for me was lack of evidence in reading the Bible. That made my brain take certain truths that I have seen, and I use my reasoning and my logical skills here to determine that this is all poppycock. And I don't see any evidence for this being real or this God interacting with lives or as a matter of fact, the things in this Bible. I don't have anything to go off of to believe that Jesus did any of the miracle stuff, that God did any of the miracle stuff, that any of the fantasy stuff in here happened. Yeah, Jerusalem, real place. Israel, real place. A lot of these other peoples, yeah, probably real peoples. They just wrote about the things that they thought about or were happening at that time. So I don't, and they were trying to, they didn't even know where the sun went at night. So let's start with that one. And then I'm supposed to trust them on everything else. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I just
maybe
don't
it's
find it
not.
trustworthy. That's
That,
the real thing. Is why are we
that's
trusting this?
the
Go ahead.
got you. The trustworthy aspects of the thing. But
Yeah.
what about the principles? So for example,
Such as,
for example, from a Christian standpoint, we should really start in Acts
why?
about what type of person to be, because the rest of it is a reference.
The rest of it is a reference.
Why not? Yes, it
Help me
is a
understand that.
reference. So, for example, Christian as a Christian, the not speaking from a Gentile, because I'm not a Jew. So our doctrine starts in Acts.
Why do you think that, though?
Well, because they were preaching to those that were not Jews. I'm not one.
All scripture is God breathed and useful for preaching, teaching, correcting, and training in righteousness. So
Yes, but I mean the principles of living
that's,
after Jesus.
huh? Help me understand.
So
Why are we ignoring
Jesus
all
came.
of the stuff God said to do?
I'm not ignoring it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
ignoring it.
we're not ignoring. Okay.
I'm not ignoring it.
So
I'm just saying it is
we're
we really are applicable to living, and it's for us it's Gentiles in Acts. So
Hmm.
after Jesus, when Jesus came to fulfill the law, is what the book says.
Did you read the rest of that, though?
Yes, I did.
Not one jot, not one tittle will disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. I think Jesus wants you to follow the law. I don't think everything has been accomplished. Do you think everything's been accomplished?
But he just said he overcame the law.
So we're not supposed to follow the law anymore because he overcame the law?
I'm saying that it can still be a reference, but
Why would we want to reference that law?
he just said he gave us a new commandment, though.
Okay. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches other accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Does that sound like God wants you to set aside the laws of the Old Testament?
Individually, no.
No. So God wants you to follow the laws of the Old Testament.
Not specifically solo by itself.
Why do you think
What
that?
I'm saying, I think that because one, most of the things aren't applicable. They were applicable to that time.
Which one is like? What do you mean it's not applicable? What? Give me a reference. Can you give me one that's not applicable?
Well, women wearing covering over their hair when their hair is their covering,
Okay, why is that not applicable anymore?
because their hair is their covering. So,
What?
for example, for example,
Where do you see that?
no. So, I guess I referenced something that let me explain.
Good,
So,
good.
in tradition, in when I grew up in church, I grew up in some of the churches where women would, because of the Old Testament, wear a cloth or something over their head.
Yeah.
When God gave you the covering, which was your hair.
But where does it say that you don't have to wear the covering?
It doesn't necessarily specifically say it.
Oh, so
What I'm saying is what I'm saying is, from my understanding, a covering on a covering doesn't make sense.
so you're leaning on your own understanding as opposed to God's understanding.
In that sense, it does sound like that, yes.
Eeh, you're not supposed to do that one. What is that? Proverbs?
Yeah,
Proverbs.
yeah.
What the crap and crap. 3:5. Proverbs 3:5. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lean not on your own understanding. So, John.
But to my point, like
Hmm.
I lean on the principles that say, like, hey, this is how you should live.
Well,
And
mhm.
yeah, if you go Old Testament, okay, so if you have the Old Testament stuff pulled up,
I have
tell
everything
me
pulled up.
tell me how you believe, like
Hmm.
what does it say I should live by?
What? Lots of different
Like,
rules. There's 650 different rules to live by.
let's give me a handful. That
Let's-
are you pulling up old and new
The laws are
before
in the Old
Christ?
Testament.
Yes, but the way of living is in Acts. Like,
That doesn't
to
matter,
live.
though, but the laws are perfect, holy, righteous, and good according to God. And then we got Deuteronomy 5:29. It says that you keep all my commandments that it might go well for you and your descendants forever. Deuteronomy 11 says, God, you shall therefore love the Lord your God and keep his charge, his statutes, his rules, and commandments always. Deuteronomy 12:28, be careful to obey all these words I command you, that will go for well you and your children after forever. So I'm not seeing where it says not to follow these laws anymore, but I'm just going to throw out a random one out here. Leviticus 24:13-16. Anyone who blasphemes the name of Yahweh should be put to death. Do you think that's a perfect, holy, righteous, and good law?
Perfect, holy, righteous, and good law.
Mm-hmm.
For that time, yeah.
So it was okay at one point, morally acceptable, to throw stones at people. So God changed his moral objectives there.
I don't know if God changed it, but the same way that it was
people changed
at some point. So, for example, yeah, people did change it, but that's so now my next point is the same way at some point where racism was okay, and now it's not.
Slavery is still okay by God's eyes. Nowhere in here does it say slavery is not okay. So God didn't change his morals there.
Slavery was different.
Slavery was different?
Yeah.
Were they free to go?
If they didn't pay the debt, yes. Historically, no, they were not free to
go. So they couldn't leave. Even if they paid the debt, they couldn't leave. Do you think it's okay to submit to harsh masters? 1 Peter 2:18 tells us it's okay to submit to harsh masters. If I was God, I'm just saying, if I was God, I wouldn't want that. I would not want that role forever, period. But if I was God, I would have put something in here saying, no, don't. Number one, don't submit to harsh masters. You stand up against harsh masters. Number two, slavery is crap. Do not have slaves. Don't get them from your neighbors, like God says here. Don't beat them for 3 days and they can live. Don't. Oh, this is the worst. This is like, to me, this is one of the most disgusting. There's a lot of them, but this is one of them. When it says Exodus 21:7. If a man sells his daughter as a servant, she is not to go free as manservants do. That's one of the most disgusting sentences in the Bible. There's a lot, but it's one of them. How do you justify that sentence?
I don't.
Yeah.
I do not justify that.
I appreciate you not trying to defend it. It's disgusting.
I will say I do choose though to lean on my experience that I've had.
And we can get to that. We'll go back to that.
And while I don't get super deep and I don't apply it literally, especially not those.
Especially not those.
I'm not obviously why they would write that. Look, it was that time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know we don't do that now. So I can't say and defend something or someone in a time where I was not.
Well, it's not very moralistic. I can't see these as good morals. I can't follow the instructions of God here and be on a moral plane, what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say there? Like morally acceptable. I cannot find these things morally acceptable. No matter what. I mean, God finds it super awesome. I personally don't.
Super awesome is crazy.
But go ahead. Tell me about your personal experience there. How we can correlate that.
So I've so many times before I had the relationship I had with God, just saying, you know what, I'm going to do things this way. Kind of similar to your green light theory. And no matter what I said and how much I said it in the way that you said it, nothing worked out that way. But I do have evidence of life changing when I consulted God and went after.
I got evidence of life changing after people consulted Kali Ma. That's that's evidence there for other religions, other gods, my green light God. So tell me about this relationship. Why do you trust your God? Why do you trust him?
Forgive me.
Oh, go ahead. No,
I have a question. What makes you go after the Christian God so much?
It's the book I know the most. And it's not something I go after. I just have conversations with people about it.
And where can you tell me? Because now I'm so curious. Where did this start? How did this happen?
My
As
disbelief?
yeah, like where did it start?
Ah, John, I grew up in the church. Yep, I was going to be a youth minister. That's what I was told by people who were laying hands on me and crying. You're going to be a youth pastor. All that stuff. No, didn't turn out. You're going to lead people to Jesus. Yeah, no, sorry. Unless this is leading people to Jesus, I guess that's in some kind of warped reality. But no, I grew up in the church. I was raised and I believed it. I talked to my Jesus. I feared hell like no other. Um, and I picked up the book one day and I started reading the stories that I had been taught from. The Exodus story is actually one of the stories I started with. Wow, what a disgusting adventure that was. Um, you break that thing down from the beginning of why God did it, and then he says why he did it. It's really gross and terrible, slaughtering children in their sleep, just to show off his powers. I had a problem with that. So I kept diving in. I researched more and more and more. And then I researched on where this book came from and where these people came from and where their beliefs came from. Did you know that the Israelites were once Canaanites?
Yeah.
That's where they came from.
Yep.
And so that Canaanite pantheon of gods kind of melted into what we have now. So there's a lot of different correlations there between old religions and then the evolution of how it went, and then the book itself. And the more you look into it, and the more I read it, it just became more and more ridiculous and nonsensical to me.
But how does one person go from that? Because it can't just be, oh, I picked it up one day. Because you had to hear scripture if you were
Oh,
in church.
it was a long process. Yeah. No, I mean, I
So
would hear
what happened?
scripture.
Yeah.
It would be little pieces of scripture, not the whole story. Like I remember I taught Sunday school. I remember printing out pictures of Lot's wife as a pillar of salt and passing it to children for them to color it. And look, you have to obey God or he's going to turn you into a pillar of salt. That's disgusting, man. That's not that's torture. Threats. It's gross. That's not love. That's not love is patient, love is kind. That's I'm don't listen. If you listen to me, you'll be fine. If not, I'm gonna destroy you. That's not love, man. That's not compassion. So I started to see it for what it was,
Mm.
and it's just a system to control people.
I don't see it that way. I see it
I
as
figured.
bad history. I see it as that's difficult history. I'm not putting anything past that
Mm,
or ignoring that.
mm,
That's tough.
yeah.
I know several points of history that we've evolved in things like that. American history,
I
other
don't
countries'
worship those
history.
people. See, I see
That
people that
that
do
that,
bad
that
things. I don't worship them.
no, and that I understand. I
Yeah,
understand that
I think that's
logically
weird.
makes sense.
Yeah. Ah,
Um,
yeah. Thank you. It does to me, absolutely. But
but I've also had experience.
But how do you know?
And
Why do you trust this guy? That's what we're going to go back to. We're going to keep going back to this. But why trust this particular guy? The guy that ordered the deaths of the Amalekite children, the guy that drowned every puppy, baby, and kitten on the planet because he was regret making human beings, the guy that crept into babies' beds at night and killed
because of
them to
sin,
show off his powers.
because of sin. How
Who
do they deal
created
with
sin?
how do they deal with cancer?
You cut cancer out. You don't drown children.
Yeah, you're literally literal. Yeah, but it's burned the cells.
So your God
It's
is unable to separate sin from children, so he has to drown them?
I'm not saying that.
Okay, help me understand then.
What I'm saying is you can accept as horrible as both of these things are, and we can obviously argue that one is way more horrible than the other. That this is the way a process was. There are better ways to do it now. I'm not condoning or saying anything about those people. I was not there.
Hmm.
But I'm also not going to use that as a reason to negate my experience that I've had.
But you can still judge this character by his actions, correct?
If we're on the same level.
What do you mean if we're on the same level? You can't judge somebody who's on a different level than you? Help me understand that.
Not necessarily I can't if I don't understand, how can I come to a very definitive conclusion if I don't have all the evidence? I have evidence. I'm not saying we don't.
Hmm.
and you have evidence for why you believe what you believe. But the question is it all of it? And
Okay.
I don't think that it is. And because it's not, you go, I don't believe him.
No, that's one of the many, many, many reasons. This is why I would never worship him. Because he's a monster. I don't worship monsters, tyrants. Bow down to me or burn forever. No, nope, that's not gonna happen. Um, but I feel you do judge him. I feel you do judge your God. Do you think that your God is good?
Yes.
That's a judgment, man.
Yes. Okay. So I, it's not the point of judgment then. It's how I'm judging him that
Do you
you're
understand
questioning.
him?
As much as I can, yeah.
What do you mean as
I
much
was
as you
cre
can?
I was created by him, same
Okay,
as you.
you have a relationship with him. He gives you understanding.
Hmm.
Why not understanding as to why he did the monstrous things?
I don't have that.
But why? Why doesn't he give you that? Why would that be kind of important?
That's but you're asking a question that I don't have the information and neither do you.
Well, you have a
Like we
relationship with him. You can get that information, correct?
it's you can ask me a question, I can choose to answer it.
Right, but God wants you to understand, does he not?
Yeah,
Okay. So
but that
when we
doesn't mean
ask,
he that
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it's naturally is going to happen because I ask. Even if I want you to understand and I ask you, you
Hmm,
still choose
I choose what?
whether you, if say for example, you choose whether you want to give me an answer or not.
Right,
Correct?
I can do that. Yeah, but if I wanted you to understand, I would give you the answer so that you would understand. Especially with me, like someone like me, I think he's an asshole. Like all he has to do is come down and explain to me, "Hey, that's why I did these things. I had to drown all the puppies, babies, and kittens because A or B or C, or I had to make David and Bathsheba's kids suffer for 7 days before it died because not just because the enemy showed utter contempt towards the Lord. I know that sounds terrible, but this is the real reason why I did it. All he has to do is come down and explain these things to me. And if he wants me to have that relationship with him, if he wants me to think nicely of him, I mean, that's a good start.
And again,
Hmm.
there's no way I can tell you whether he's going to do that or not.
Well, he's not because
I can only tell you what he's done in my life.
again, we don't know that he did those things though.
But the whole premise is belief. You believe one thing.
It's just pretending that your invisible friend is helping you out with nothing to back it up.
But then why have an issue with mine when you just
Hmm.
named other gods that other people believe in?
What do you mean have an issue with yours?
But you were saying like well, it sounded like you were saying
Hmm.
like I don't have like why would I choose to believe this?
Yeah, I don't have any good reason to believe this stuff. I can't choose my beliefs. My beliefs come to me through my understanding or not understanding of something. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
I believed this at one point and now I can't. It's like the what's that, the Wizard of Oz crap. You know, you look at the Christians to me are looking at the guy in the and I'm the guy that's looking around the curtain going, ah crap, well, can't unsee that. So I can't choose to believe at that point. You know, I've seen behind the curtain and I can't just wipe that from my, I guess God could wipe that from my mind if he wanted to, but
But the question is why hasn't he?
why hasn't, well, question is,
Why
why
hasn't
hasn't
he
he
wiped it?
verified his existence to anybody in the world and saved everybody?
There's still time, Mike.
Well, lots of people have died and not been
But
convinced.
so you don't believe that he's real at all and doesn't have any power whatsoever, is what I'm
I think he's
gathering.
just make believe, man.
Oh,
Can
so
you
I we
demonstrate his power? Do you have the power of
interesting
Jesus?
to demonstrate. I don't have his power.
Do you have his
No,
power?
I
Do
am
you
not
have him
him.
living inside of you?
Yes,
Can he do things through you?
yes, if he chooses.
Right. So I'm going to hell. I'm on my way to burn forever in his happy little place full of fire that he created specially for me and people like me. So in order for that to stop happening, all he has to do is interact with me. Can we have him through you interact with me? Because he never answers me.
Well, we could, but you don't believe. So how is it? You would have to believe that the person.
No, I don't. No, this is convincing me. This is the part of convincing me. We're going to have a conversation with him that's going to convince me that he's got, number one, something worthwhile to say. Number two, that he really wants to save me. And number three, something understanding so I can understand this nonsense.
And that's why you won't hear. You've
Why?
already chosen. You're already chosen. Mike.
I'm asking for evidence and help, and now I've already chosen.
No, but
What have I chosen?
you just explained your thought process of God, what you believe about him.
But what have I chosen?
Chosen to believe what you just said. That's what I'm saying.
That was what I was saying. Is it's not a choice. I've seen behind the curtain. It's up to God now
You have
to
experience
do something
exactly.
about that.
And my point, I guess my point is now is there's still time, and even if it's not now, and maybe you will see it, maybe you won't. You're asking me a question for something that I don't have the power. And to be honest,
You
nobody
have it inside of you, John.
Yes, I do. But again, you are saying it as if I control it.
No, but he controls it, and you can ask him to help you out, correct?
I did.
Okay, now let's do it
this,
now.
See, but you don't get to choose that.
Does prayer work, John?
Yes, I believe it does.
Then let's use that prayer power to get your Jesus to say something that will convince me, or at least a little something. Can you use your prayer powers to ask the guy inside of you to do that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, do it. Let's do it.
No,
No,
I can't do that, Mike.
you know why, Mike? Could.
I mean, yeah, but I'm choosing again. It goes back to the.
But you're
same
choosing
thing I
not
just
to,
said.
so now it's your fault. I'm going to hell.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Then let's do it.
You said it before. You said you're going to this happy place of fire. That's what you said.
God's happy place of fire that he's going to send me and people he created it for.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. Unless your God stops it somehow, unless your God convinces me and he's living inside of you. He's just waiting. He's like, John, say this. I think like a cat scratching to get out. John! No, it's just confusing to me. I don't understand. Why would he not want to say something or do something? Why would he not want to interact in a tangible way?
Maybe he doesn't want right now, but I'm saying I don't feel anything I don't feel anything specifically beyond what I've already said. It's hard to fill a cup that's already filled.
No, it's pretty easy for God.
It is.
Yeah, so let's have God do it.
But you see, Mike, you don't even want that.
That's why I'm asking, John.
That's not. You know that.
Uh-huh.
You know you're waiting for you're waiting for some specific proof, and
John, this is what I'm waiting for. Are you ready?
Okay.
Marco. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for, John. I've done it a million times on this show, and I still get no polo. Where is my polo?
One day you're gonna get it.
Oh, John, one day Kali Ma will reveal herself to you and you will be happy in life and you will be prosperous. But until then, John, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I guess I still got a question though. Like,
of course, go ahead. We'll end it with that. Man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Why so passionately against?
Oof.
What like
it's a tangent.
Why?
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I live in the United States and we have an orange piece of shit king right now who's there because of people's belief in this book and people's belief in this God and his ability to do things. I have that. No, it's not why.
Where's the proof of
evangelicals are the ones that voted for him mostly. That's the proof.
But how's that have to do with God though? People did
that has everything to do with your God. That's exactly why. It's because of your religion that this man is in office doing the things that he's doing. Destroying the lives that he's destroying. Christianity has been a thorn in human side since the beginning of it. It has caused death, destruction, torture, hatred. It's just it's not any good. I don't see it as a
Muslim
good
culture
thing.
has done that too. There's other religions that have done that too.
Nobody does
But you
it better
chose.
than in the name of
So you feel that it's better. Okay.
in religion.
Okay.
Nobody does things worse than for the name of in the name of a god or religion. That's just what history has shown me. That is just what history has shown the human race. That's the evidence that we have.
But you do have evidence of other religions doing similar or
All
worse.
kinds of religions doing the same thing. Every kind of belief system that is a religious belief system is detrimental to the human race. It stunts our growth. It keeps us believing in nonsense and fairy tales, and instead of progressing as a species. It's a regression, not a progression. That's what I see. That's my tangent.
Okay. Okay. I
But nothing
understand.
against you, John. Nothing against you,
Look,
John. You
I didn't take
I
I didn't take anything. I get it.
Good,
You have
good.
you have your experience.
Hmm.
You have
Well,
your
I have
experience
my
that have led
empathy, my
you.
logic, and my common sense, and that's what I use to decipher that this is all nonsense and detrimental to human race.
Hmm.
John, this has been a blast. Any other questions?
No.
All right, man.
Thank you
Go
for
ahead.
obliging me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Go ahead and close us out with where we can find you in any last comments, any closing comments.
You can find me at Coach Jon Mcleod on TikTok, Instagram, and on Facebook. And for those listening out there, we're going to keep praying for Mike because one day he's going to see it in Jesus' name.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, man. Have a good night. We'll talk
Have
to
a
you
good
later.
one. All right.
That's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find all things BSW related on the show's website at thebiblesayswhat.com. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to thebiblesayswhat.com and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will get you early access to each new episode on Wednesdays instead of Sundays. You can also catch me live on the show's TikTok and YouTube channel every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 6 p.m. PST. Links are in the show notes. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly share and review the show?